Finally, now we are at the panel of Web3 security. I'm a moderator for this one, but it's like quite last minute, so please bear with me, guys. So yeah, Web3 security is a really hot topic, especially when you look at how big Web3 is getting, and always as a top priority for most protocols out there. So yeah, right now I'm with all the experts on this topic, and I'll just let everyone to maybe take over and quickly introduce yourself and the companies.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Cuong, and I'm a part of the Cybring team from 98. So at 98, we try to offer security products and services to help Web3 companies to secure and safeguard their infrastructure, their products, and their services. It's my pleasure to be here today and to share and learn with you about the security in Web3. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Goff. Yeah, that's my nickname. I'm a co-founder and CEO for Reconix and Inspex. We are an expert in cybersecurity for both Web2 and Web3, but mostly focus on the service part. We help users to access their system to help them identify any leaks in their system and help them to remediate that. And really happy to join this event as speaker.
Hi everyone, my name is Katz. I'm the founder and CEO of Kerberus. Kerberus is the leading consumer protection brand for users. We develop the most advanced technology to protect people's wallets. We currently protect over $100 million in users' assets for over 2 years with absolutely zero losses. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Troy Lay. I'm the head of business commercial director at Verichains. Probably everyone knows Verichains is a homegrown cybersecurity company leading here in Vietnam. Predominantly in my work, I help Verichains establish its global footprint through strategic partnerships with generally global exchanges, layer 1s and layer 2s.
All right, thanks guys. So let's dive into it. So the first question we have, so as we look at Web3, what's the most overlooked security issue that you can get or risk in today? And how can you that issue can be underestimate? What's your thing? Start with.
So I think if we look at the overlooked risks that Web3 companies nowadays often make, we need to think about the conventional security. So with Web3, when you talk about Web3 audit, you often think about smart contract audits, right? But it's not just smart contract audit. So they often underestimate the importance of the security of the entire underlying infrastructure. So you have UX problems, and this gives the attackers the ability to phish end users, and that is one huge problem. So UI phishing is very risky, and people often overlook this risk. And then you have the CI/CD pipelines that needs security audit, that needs review, but oftentimes you forget about that. Why? Because developers usually think, okay, we need to see the smart contracts seriously, because the code cannot be upgraded, so it's immutable. But the code is immutable, but it's not just a smart contract. So I believe that conducting security audit for a smart contract is important, but conducting security audit for the entire Web2 underlying infrastructure is negligent nowadays, and it should be improved. And for example, you have third-party library studies insecure, but developers still use that. But smart contract audit doesn't cover that, right? And people often think that they can release and later on they patch, but sometimes it's too late to patch, and it only comes to the attention when an attack happens, and it's sometimes too late. So to fix the problems, I think we need to consider security an important aspect of every software development phase, from designing to implementation to deployment and to maintenance. Security needs to be everywhere, and it's not just one-time stamp, but also it needs like cyclic reviews.
How about Alex? Do you have any take on this?
From the development standpoint, I very much agree with everything said. I think that, just to add a little bit on that, there needs to be more standardized processes when things go out in crypto, because everyone does an audit on this, but not on that. And then they audit Web3, but they don't audit Web2. And since we're dealing with things that cannot be changed after they happen, we need to have standard processes for all of that. Then from my side, from the consumer side, the most important thing that everyone is overlooking here is not using a hardware wallet. I am not selling that, so it's not that something that I'm telling you to do because I make money of it. But right now, the biggest threat to our users, because the way that we build Kerberus is when we see something that our users are suffering from, we are like, okay, let's find a solution. And we've done that for phishing websites that are designed or hacked to steal directly from users. But then there's the malware that is coming from, so people are thinking that they're going to get a gain, be it a monetary gain from a trading activity, a special trading activity, or a job interview. And then they're going and then they download some software onto their computer. And it's even worse than phishing websites, because with phishing websites, it's usually a one-time occurrence where you get trained and your wallet is fine. When you download malware, you are giving total control of that wallet to your attacker, meaning you are not the owner of the wallet anymore. So not only do you lose everything there, but you also lose any future claim to that. If there's some future airdrop or something happening, you will have to fight the other person. It's like if someone else has ownership to your wallet. And this is all solved by using a hardware wallet. They cost roughly $100. And this is the most overlooked thing right now. We need more hardware wallet adoption.
Really interesting. And I totally agree, actually, because on the wallet side, right, we see a lot of social engineer phishing going on, especially when it's the bull market coming. But anyway, so next we have the question about the bridge vulnerabilities, which is, if you look about it, right, all the bridges where the money is, right, though all the attackers gonna be targeting the bridge. And so this question is more about, like, we see all the bridges hacked from like Ronin, Wormhole, Nomad. So from your perspective, what's the common factors that all the bridges have that make it so vulnerable? So next one, maybe with Troy.
Sure. Yeah, bridge vulnerabilities is like one of those things where it can happen in any attack vector, right? So Verichains, in our experience, obviously, we've lucky enough to be dealing with some of the largest bridge hacks. For example, since the 2022 Ronin hack, the subsequent Binance Smart Chain hack in October that same year. I guess the way, when we look to help projects, and the best way to think about a bridge, I would sort of use this analogy. So first you've got like the bridge is like a tollway operator, right? It's essentially controlling two different highway systems. You've got chain A and chain B. They operate on different programming platforms, different virtual machine, different programming language, different deployment environment. So from a security standpoint, traditionally, when we think of organizational security, we think of people, processes, and technology. So it's sort of the first pillar there, which is the issue around the complexity of bridge technology. So if you think about it, you've got all of the attack surface of your chain A, all of the attack surface of chain B, as well as your own bridging smart contracts, right? So the volume of your attack surface is so larger. So it's why it's so hard to actually implement a secure bridge solution. Now, obviously, there's a lot of business and models to incentivize the need for it. But to me, that's the technology aspect is something that is still yet to be solved with the current level of technology in terms of blockchain bridge technologies. In terms of the processes, then you see, that attack vector, right, being a wider attack surface. Now you've got the process of transaction, right? So each of these chains, they have to pass the data, proof, the signature, the state changes from one chain to the other. So all of those processes having to go cross-chain and having to be accurate, and all of the assumptions are correct. So now that you've got a wider attack surface and then you've got a more complex process, it only takes one break to break it all, right? And that's where you're going to get things like, minting without collateral. You've got the wormhole exploit, right? So just those two alone, the complexity of the technology, the length in the processes of passing and processing these transactions are much more complex on a chain. And then third, the people component is probably the one that you see, is currently most prominent with advanced persistent threat actors, right? Which is they're targeting the people. So in blockchain, we love decentralized technology, right? But unfortunately, we still have some centralized components. That comes down to governance, that comes down to core developer who has admin contract upgrades capabilities, right? So the third component then is the people. People are easy to be phished. A developer can easily be hooked into a false job to downloading like a malware, right? And then once they compromise your AWS instance, right, any action that happens on the upgrade there, malicious or not, is indistinguishable from a genuine action. So, in Verichains work, when we're helping clients in dealing with the incidents of these breach, not just the auditing of it, we clearly see even in the post-mortem, in the aftermath, we still have to do the forensics and understand, hey, how come this device got compromised this way? How come this AWS S3 instance got compromised this way? Yeah. So I think certainly I do feel for the developers. Building a breach is not easy, but that comes with the territory, right? You're trying to open up new markets, new community, new liquidity. So I think especially for breach builders, you have to pay more attention on security, and that means not just looking at security as a our final checkbox step before I launch, but really having to look at that whole design architecture. How do you build it? How do you implement it? And then how do you monitor, right, to make sure that your breach is secure?
Yeah, absolutely. And Wolf, you want to add on to it?
Yeah, sure. I totally agree with Troy on everything that he says. Yeah, and there is an agri-truth on these technologies. This technology is surely exploitable. There is no such thing that is unexploitable or unhackable. You need to admit that the compromise on this technology is inevitable. Yeah, so you need to think about put the containment in your mind while you design this kind of technology. So you need to contain or control the impact of the compromise beforehand instead of widely develop the bit technology. You need to separate the liquidity of the pool. Yeah, not just put all the liquidity in a single pool. What happens if you put it in a single pool? If it was compromised, you will lose all that liquidity, right? But if you can separate it, you can control the consequence or the impact of the financial loss, right? And also, most of the technology still rely on centralized exchange, centralized control, right? Process. So you need to improve the awareness of the one who is holding the key to execute. Yeah, as if you can recall the loaning incident, yeah, there is the case that 5 of the validator got phishing and they can execute the transfer transaction. So with this kind of incident, you need to improve the awareness of the let's say the admin who hold that key, and another thing is you need a automate kill switch. Yeah, you need some kill switch. Put it into your protocol that will help you to control the effect or the financial impact. So if there is some anomaly behavior detected in the breach, so this kill switch will help you to pause the protocol and help you to control and reduce the impact of the compromise. As I said, this kind of exploit is inevitable. So you need to focusing on how to reduce the risks and the impact of the exploitation.
I see. So we talk about bridges, we talk about like your protocol level. Now I want to change it back a bit more like on the consumer side, right? So we're talking about one wallet side. And I think we mentioned about like, how they can get the phishing, like the UX can be a problem. So maybe Alex, you can add on this question about like how the wallet side can define the threats,
So how can wallets improve how users get phished? That's the question, right? So in general, I think wallets need to look more deeply into who they are contracting with, because they are not really developing security technology. Most of them, it's not really their responsibility to build the security of the wallet. Obviously they are responsible for it, but the security solutions out there are very antiquated in my opinion. So we are looking to change that completely, because what we bring to Web3 that no one else has brought is that when you install our software, you just don't lose money. There's zero record of anyone ever losing money. On top of that, we even, because of the quality of the security, we added a coverage up to $30,000. So if you use our software and it does happen, which is possible, I'm not saying we are 100% perfect, you will still be covered for up to $30,000. Most user losses are $1,000. Whale losses are $10,000. So it's well above that. But other than that, wallets have to make it a very, very big priority, because at the end of the day, wallets make money with users in-app swap fees. If their users are getting drained and losing the funds, they're just not going to make the revenue. It's a mindset shift that they have to make into, if we need to keep the user funds safe so that they can continue to make money off them, which is a normal thing, but it's still not at the top of their list. And I wish it would be, and we'll continue to work for that.
As a proud user of Kerberus, I do agree. But also I want to ask Cuong as well on this, since you are also, the team behind auditing with the Coney wallet, right? So what was your take on, how to improve this kind of threats?
So human factor is a very important aspect of security. So you can design a very powerful tool, but if users are not well equipped with knowledge to use the tools, then you fail as tech providers. From my own perspective, for the users' behavior to change, or what they need to change in their behavior, is first, you should always stay alert. So you always need to ask yourself, are you expecting this interaction? So suddenly, out of nowhere, you receive an email, a notification, a SMS asking you to sign in or to perform a transaction. Then you should ask if you are expecting to receive this notification or not. Because if you are not, then something fishy is going on, right? The second thing is, you should never, as a user, you should never copy and paste address from a transaction history, because that can easily be manipulated, right? And instead, you should have a address book of the frequent addresses that you often interact with, so that you can be safer to use. The next one would be to have separate wallets. The hot wallet for daily activities and the cold wallet for storage. So in case things go south, you can minimize the impact of the incident. So it only affects the fund in your hot wallet, and the storage one remains more secure. And I think the last one might be a little bit repetitive to the first point, which is you should treat every situation potentially malicious. So if you are performing any actions on your wallet, you should consider that potentially malicious. And until you are able to verify that the one you are doing is the one you are expecting, then you can proceed. Otherwise, always confirm that are you expecting this interaction or not? That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. So the next question I think is going to be really interesting because we have like basically 3 providers that is like offering auditing service now, right, on the stage. So, but as someone that also doing both auditing and a builder as well, how do you like think about like the whole auditing process? Because basically you think about it right now, people think of auditing is like a flow process. We mentioned briefly about it already. So maybe this one go to Wolf. Wolf, you can like share with us like what you think, how we can improve on the auditing process to make it like better. Yeah.
What I'm going to say is might be a bit sound aggressive. I have to say that the current audit process is quite broken. Yeah, since it's right now the audit process is more like a checklist or a checkbox process, which not good. Yeah, since the right now trend is evolving and your protocol is improving and your code may be refactored, but the audit process is still static. Why? So which means that your audit process cannot catch any new vulnerability or any new threat that is evolving. So you need some continuous process. Yep. Not a static audit process. You cannot just do some checklist and take the checkbox. There is not enough anymore. Yeah, checklist or checkbox is good. Yeah, but it's just fundamental of the audit process. Yeah, it can help you to pass the minimum requirement of security audit, but you need to put something like threat modeling into your audit process. You need to think it carefully. You need to understand the whole business model or business requirement of your protocol, so you can see any aspect of the security of your protocol. So you can identify any business flaw. That is really important. And I have to say that many protocol that has several audit is still exploitable. But I can't call the name of the protocol, but it's still exploitable due to this kind of incident. Yeah, their code has been changed or there is a new feature in their protocol, but they do the audit just only one. They think that just do one audit and you can publish the code forever. That is not true. You need a continuous process. You need to audit it at least annually, or in case of any significant change or a new feature, yeah, you absolutely need a new audit. Yeah, at the best you need to audit that new feature. Yeah, that is the normal practice in both Web 2 and Web 3.
Sure, you want to add to it?
Yeah. I think we all know the problem of smart contract audit, right? But so I want to be a little bit more fair to the builders themselves, right? Because security is one of those things where it can be a budget black hole. You can spend infinite amount of money on security and still get nowhere. So in all fairness, when it comes to securing a project, we also need to be mindful about the growth and the current stage of that project and where it's going. Because, it doesn't make sense for you to overspend at such an early stage. And if you happen to have traction, right, and your TVL goes boom way up, then you need to have a way to be able to increase that budget dramatically while adding on complementary service to the audit itself, right? So just want to be a little bit more fair on the developers. It's not always their fault, right? But in terms of the audit process itself, it is, like Vic said, is a static process. We take a snapshot of what that code base is, but of course that code is going to evolve, right? So it does need continuous update, just like any system needs to have regular penetration testing. So I think the approach of thinking beyond the code, the way that I try to advise my clients is, if you've got a complex smart contract, right, don't just look at the code of that smart contract, look at it as a whole system. Not only do I have to secure the code, am I sure on my dependencies? What are my third-party libraries? Where else can I be compromised at? And that threat modeling to accompany the audit itself, I think it's very important. And then, if you are lucky enough to grow your project and get traction, then sort of you want to start to shift left as you increase your security budget, right? Then you have an existing, let's say, auditor that you have a lot of trust with, like Verichains or, one of the panelists here. Then what you want to do is you want to engage with them very early on in your architectural and design process so that, you don't build up technical debt, develop down the wrong road just to have your, code base all fixed again. So I think audit itself is not the issue. I think it certainly is the challenge of the overall maturity of the blockchain space because, we don't have to only just worry about on-chain security. There's still the whole Web2 traditional stack behind the scene, the infrastructure that we still have to secure as well. So it's a combination about thinking of stacking up your security services with a trusted provider where you have sufficient coverage of not just your code base, but of your operating system. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with the shift left approach. Trust me, implement the security mechanism in the early stage is a lot cheaper than fixing the vulnerability.
Preparation, right? So I think since we are short on time, I think we kind of want to close it up with one last question for all the panelists here. So since we reaching to a stage where we can say that Web3 getting mass adoption in going maybe 3 years, 5 years next. So if you have to say one sentence about get one thing right about security, what would it be like? Maybe start with Cuong and we go across the board.
So usually I would have many things to say about this, but if I have to put it in one sentence, that would be developers should create wallets that make it extremely hard or impossible for users to make security mistakes by default.
Yeah, for me, that would be security must be continuous and proactive. You need to maintain the security level of your protocol. Since the threat is, what I have said is security is continuously evolving. So your security in your mindset have to be continuous and have to evolve to catch that threat also.
So I agree that security has to be by default on wallets, but until that happens, which we don't know when it will happen, as a user, you have to understand that you are your own bank. You're not just using a crypto wallet. You are not excited to trade in crypto. Like you can be, but at the end of the day, no one will come to save you. With your credit card or your bank account, if something happens, you can talk to the credit card company, to the police, and you can most likely get your money back. With crypto, there is no one protecting you. So until we get those security layers in place, which is what Kerberus is working for, you are your own bank and treat it with the utmost care possible.
And probably I'll just say for the builders, probably the thing that if I was in your position, is to build a good working relationship with your trusted service provider. The reason why I say that is the aggregate that you get from the relationship over time is much more than the spending you spend in the beginning, right? Because once you have let's say a recurring relationship, an open dialogue with the security vendor, actually that's a lot of what our clients benefit from, right? They work with Verichains in a couple projects, and then they get the benefit of having the tech lead who already knows their system, and then you can just ask question on your next set of designs, right? And get them to give you free consultation. So I would say for the builders out there, make sure you source out good vendors, have a few of them, and then work with the one that you really like over a long period of time and maximize the value of that relationship. I think your dollar would go a lot further. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I think for me, just to add it at the last bit, as a user, as a builder, I think this is something that all running blockchain have heard before. Don't trust, verify, right? So that's basically your security. And yeah, again, thank you all the panelists here, and thank you all everyone tuning in for listening to Web3 security in 2025. Thank you guys.